You know how we're always going back through memory lane as much as physically possible, and we try to connect the dots because all it does is bring that nostalgia value back. But it also allows us as Oklahoma State fans to be grounded in the history that is Oklahoma State, all good, all bad, and all things, Mike Gundy, and more.
You are Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma State Cowboys, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, y'all, and hello, all. Welcome back to Locked On Oklahoma State, your daily stop for all things Cowboy and Cowgirl related. My name is Cody Stovall. I want to thank you kindly for stopping by and making this your first listen here on Locked On Oklahoma State. Today, we have a good one. Hailing from Jesuit High School in New Orleans, Louisiana, standing at 6'6", 300 pounds, former Detroit Lion for 6 years, former Cowboy great, and somebody that was in the middle of the transition from the Les Miles era to the Mike Gundy era. Everybody, help me bring on to the show Corey Hilliard. How are you doing, my guy?
What's up, man? How are you?
Man, I'm living the dream. Every day we wake up, it's a better day than the alternative.
Right on. Amen to that.
All right, so we're going to jump right off into it. Whenever you were going through the recruiting process, because I do know that you were getting looks from a lot of legitimate schools, including places like in Indiana. Coming from Louisiana, especially back then, we didn't get a lot of guys, from outside of the state of Oklahoma and Texas. So you being kind of integral in the process of growing the recruiting footprint, what made you choose Oklahoma State?
I believe it was my second offer. Like my first offer was from Tulane. I was a late bloomer. I really didn't have any offers going into my senior year. And by midway through my senior year, I started getting offers, and Oklahoma State was the second one. And I took a visit to Stillwater. Man, I absolutely loved it. And so it had gotten down to Indiana, Oklahoma State, Clemson, and Ole Miss was like my final four. And I took a visit to all of those places, and I fell in love with Stillwater. I thought it was an awesome place, still is. It's like my second, third home, whatever you want to call it. So that was a process for me, man. I love what they were doing. It came off of beating OU 2 years in a row, so things were growing there. And then just the visit, the players that were there, like Charlie Johnson, Sam Mays, Josh Fields, just hanging out with those guys that weekend. It was just a really cool experience.
That is cool. Yeah, you definitely got to play with some dudes. You definitely got to play with quite a bit of dudes. When you look back on that, what was the most difficult part when you first came to Stillwater? Before you got kind of rolling in, because you came in you committed in 03, correct? And then you came in 04. Is that accurate?
No, committed in 03, got there 03.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So what was your question? The most difficult part?
Yeah. What was the most difficult transition going from high school to big boy Les Miles football?
Well, I mean, being homesick was number one, because I was 12 hours away. Stillwater's 12 hours away from New Orleans. And I'd probably say the second thing was learning how to try to be a technician. In high school, you can kind of get away with, sloppy technique as a lineman when you're physically imposing, right, and you just dominate the guy across from you. Well, it wasn't like that when I got to Stillwater. Like, I was going up against Greg Richmond every day.
Marque was pretty salty.
Me and Marque came in together. We had battles. Antonio Smith, who went to like a few Pro Bowls with the Texans.
Yep.
Kareem Smith, like those guys would just take turns beating me up my freshman year. And so making that transition to big boy football, that was probably the hardest part.
Gotcha. So, whenever you came to Oklahoma State, Al Pena was our guy originally, correct? And then your sophomore year is when we transitioned to Donovan Woods.
Well, no, Al Pena is actually my roommate, one of my best friends still.
Oh, that's awesome.
We were roommates for 4 years, but my first year was Josh Fields. My second year, the quarterback was Donovan Woods.
There you go.
And then Les went off to LSU. Gundy got the head job. And then I had Bobby Reid my last 2 years, sprinkled in with some Zach Robinson.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, we're gonna have Bobby Reid's on the show, I believe next week. So before we get off here, make sure you give me a little nugget to throw his way, just to throw him off course a bit.
I got something for him. Yeah.
Okay, so let's kind of talk about so the 04 season was pretty successful for you guys. It was a game where you should have won Bedlam. I think you lost 32-35.
38-35.
Yeah. And you had a couple other games that were pretty close, but that was getting into a pretty good sized bowl game, right? We went to the Alamo Bowl and played Ohio State.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that was back when going to bowl games was new. That was a new thing for us.
It was a new thing, yeah.
So what was that excitement?
Well, man, my freshman year, I actually started 7 games and got hurt with 2 games left in the season and couldn't play in the Cotton Bowl. We were 9-3 that year. We played Ole Miss in the Cotton Bowl. That was an awesome experience. We lost to Ole Miss by 3. That's when Ole Miss had Eli Manning.
Yes.
Yeah, and then the next year we got to play that Ohio State team, and they shouldn't have been in that Alamo Bowl. The record-wise, they had some injuries early on in the year that kind of hurt their record. But bro, that was a squad. I believe that next year they played in the national championship, if I'm not mistaken.
Was that before they got Maurice Clarett, or was that? It was right around.
That was. I think the Maurice Clarett year was 2002.
Roger. Okay.
I think he got ran off by then.
Okay,
but
fair enough.
That team had AJ Hawk, Bobby Carpenter on defense. I mean, they just had a bunch of dudes. They had Ted Ginn. They had Rob Sims, who I played with in Detroit. That was just a really, really good team. And I was like, bro, we should not be playing y'all. Y'all are too good. So, yeah, it was a cool experience. The Alamo Bowl was cool, running out there and seeing all the fans. It was a real cool setup. And then they proceeded to beat our butts, man. So,
hey, it happens. Okay, so let's segue right into the reason that I think you tying into this show is kind of important. This was our worst season this year since 2005, right? You were part of that 05 team that Gundy had a lot of clearing house, from what I recall correctly.
Oh, man,
we had a lot of talent, but Gundy just he let a lot of guys go. So that 2005 team, could you kind of just talk about coming into that season when you see people like Seymour Shaw and a bunch of starters get kind of shipped out of Dodge? What was your guys' opinion on how the 05 season was going to be? Did you know it was going to be rocky, or did you guys anticipate winning 7-8 games? What was the feeling in the locker room?
Man, we were hopeful. I know I was. I thought we would at least be a bowl team.
Gotcha.
But we still didn't know what we were going to do at quarterback. I believe Donovan started off the year at quarterback.
Right.
And then they moved on to Bobby at some point in that season. And I think Al played some that season. It was just a revolving door. And to be honest, man, like you said, we lost a lot of firepower. Gundy ran some guys off, and he was really trying to clean up the program at that point. And we just weren't that good. We had talent, but we didn't have cohesion. We were learning a new offense. Larry Fedora had came in from Florida. Him and Coach Wickline, the O-line coach. This was Rob Glass's first year. So
Okay.
everything had just got flipped. You know what I mean? Like Les ran the ship one way, and then Gundy came in and ran in a completely different way. And honestly, I think everybody was learning on the go. Like Gundy was learning how to be a head coach. We were trying to learn a new system. We had a whole new coaching staff, a whole new defense we were trying to learn. And it just took a year, man. It just took a year. But we had some bright spots in that season. Like I remember we beat Texas Tech. They were number 13 in the country when we beat them that year. We played Missouri tough. We lost that game by like 7, 38-31 or something like that. We were in some games, but we just didn't have the talent, man. We couldn't. It was a lot going on that year. Let's say that.
So 05, yeah, I'm really glad you brought up that Texas Tech game. That's when I learned to not bet against Oklahoma State, because that was my freshman year of college. And obviously, being a diehard O State fan, even though I went to college in Kansas, I talked about Oklahoma State on a daily basis. And 05 was not a very good season. And then I had a bunch of dudes come up to my dorm room to watch the Texas Tech game. And it's the first time I bet. I was like, oh, there's no way we're going to win. There's no way. And, a buddy of mine from New York who knows nothing about Oklahoma State, he bet me. And I was like, yeah, of course. Of course, we cannot beat a ranked Texas Tech right now. And then we did. And I was like, you know what? I'm never betting against O State anymore. It's
what they did that game? They in pregame, then they huddled up in the middle of our field, like right on the 50-yard line in the middle, and started like stomping on our logo and dancing and stuff. And that got us pretty fired up. And so we played with a purpose that day.
That's awesome.
You can't let somebody just come in there and disrespect your logo and your school like that. So I think that was a big motivation. I think that's why we sent them home with an L that day.
Okay, so the 05 season clearly did not go as everybody would have liked it to. But at the same time, the 2006 season, that was, to me, that was the beginning of what we have now, right? You've got to pinch yourself occasionally when you come back and just see the insane amount of growth that Oklahoma State has had as a university. Yeah. So,
yeah,
okay, we're going to slide into the 2006 season real quick, but briefly, I got to let the fine people out here know about Bet Online. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting, news, stats, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From pro football to college football, all the way to the bowl seasons, World Cup, basketball, whatever it is, we got you covered. If you love sports podcasts, got you covered there as well. We are always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting info. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. Bet Online. It is where the game starts. All right. So let's fast forward. 2006. The meat and taters of what Gundy was trying to build did in fact get established. And like you said, you got to see the transition from Josh Fields, and then you had Al Pena, always fluttering in the background. Donovan Woods. People forget that Donovan Woods, he had 1,628 yards and 13 touchdowns, and he was pretty efficient. He didn't throw the ball a crap ton, but his efficiency ratings were decent. So I think, other than the talent that Bobby Reid had, Donovan could have done some things. And Donovan, really, the poor guy, played everywhere. It's like he was the jack of all trades for Oklahoma State, right? He played quarterback, He played safety, moved up to linebacker. And then I know he made the Pittsburgh Steelers a couple practice squads at linebacker as well and had some opportunities. But you got to see multiple different quarterbacks at Oklahoma State University, and then it ultimately equaled the success of 2006. So briefly, could you kind of just go over that transition from 2005 to 2006? Where was the time that you as a team realized, you know what, guys, we got something here. We've got something cooking in hot oil. So 2006 needs to be a capitalization moment. When did you guys have that realization? It may have been against Tech. I don't know. But when did y'all realize that y'all have enough talent to do some pretty cool stuff?
Man, it was actually It was in a loss. We had lost to A&M that year in like double or overtime. And we had them dead to rights. I think we had scored late. We got them in like a 4th and 13. I remember this like yesterday. And they somehow got the first down, going down there, scored with no time left, and got into overtime. They scored, and we scored, and we kicked the extra point, but it gets blocked. And but A&M was a good team that year.
Yeah, they
I
had
think that
Jaworski Lane, right?
Jaworski Lane, they had a lot of dudes, and I just remember being in that game saying, "Man, we got something we can work with." We had Dantrell Savage who went off that game. He was a big addition. Keith Toston, he was a freshman. He ran hard. Bobby was figuring things out. Darius Bowman was the biggest reason.
Yeah.
I think having a Darius and then DeJuan Woods on the other side. DeJuan Woods was no slouch. He was an all-conference player. So we had weapons at this point. And then on defense, we had Victor the Great, Marque Fountain, Nathan Peterson. We just had a lot of good football players, man, that year. A lot of scrappy dudes that just knew how to fight. And I think the next week after that loss, we beat Nebraska, who had came in. They were ranked like number 22 or 23. Yeah. And we had beat them, by 11 points or something like that, if I can remember right. But look, we went 7-6 that year. But look, if the A&M game, I think we should have won. Right. We went to K-State, and we were up 10 points in the fourth quarter to K-State, and they beat us in the last minute. There was like 3 games that year that I thought we should legit had a chance to win. We could have easily been a 9-3 football team that year.
Yeah.
That's how good we were that year.
Yeah. But that was the first time we'd beat Nebraska in like what, 23 years, something like that.
Well, no, they beat Nebraska the year before I got there. In
okay, that was gotcha. Tracking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was that was fun. You were part of some good squads. Just from a talent perspective, like you listed, and Billy Badgema, I think was rocking and rolling with y'all back then too. So yeah, you guys had NFL talent. It was just the depth piece. And to me, that's the beauty of where Oklahoma State is now. Is this year's a perfect example. There's not very many years that we could have, 12 starters out and still be able to have a somewhat successful season. And it's due to the depth. And whenever you see, obviously, playing offensive line for so long, when you see some of the deficiencies that we have at the O-line, does it, I don't know, is it a glaring need that we have to fix, or do you think it's more just simplistic things that we're missing?
As far as the O-line?
Yeah.
I look, we were injury riddled. We just couldn't stay healthy, man. You know what I mean? We really just could not stay healthy. It was a revolving door. Center was out, guards would be out. You're moving guards to center, you're moving tackles to guard. Right. It was just we could not stay healthy. You know what I mean? If you look back at last year when we went 12-1, like for the most part, that unit had stayed pretty healthy, and we leaned on the run game. And then this year, we just the whole team. It wasn't just even the O-line; it was just almost every position group. Had to deal with injuries, which was just crazy. It's just one of those years. Football's a physical game. Right. It's 100% injury rate, and it just wasn't our year injury-wise, man. So.
I hear you. Okay,
but
so
I like Coach Dickey. Coach Dickey's a good coach, the O-line coach. I've met him, talked to him a couple times. I think he does good work. It's easy to say to recruit better and get better guys. That's an easy right. answer. Do we have to do a better job? How do I say this? Do a better job of working with the talent that we got? Yeah, sure. Everybody can say that. But, when they're hurt all the time, it's hard to coach people that are hurt, and you can't get them on the field and actually, work with the guys you got. So.
Well, that, and even coming into the season, that was the position that we knew we didn't have very much depth, right? We knew coming into this season, that it was going to be a little bit of a potential musical chairs type situation. And unfortunately, that's exactly how it unfolded. But okay, so let's rewind one more again. So in 2006, going through the draft process, did you go back home to Louisiana for the draft?
No, I went out to San Diego for a little bit and then came back to Stillwater and worked out and got ready for the combine and did all that. And so after the combine, I came back to Stillwater, worked out, and just got ready for whoever was going to draft me and get ready for that process.
So when you get the call from the New England Patriots, I mean, I'm sure that euphoria is not even an accurate way to describe that phone call in and of itself. But whenever you got the call to go be a Patriot and you were going to get your NFL opportunity, was it more of, I'm really excited to go give this a go and see what happens, or were you pretty daggone confident that you were going to be a starter in the NFL for years?
No, it was more I can't even explain. I was just happy to get drafted, number one. And then, once you get there, life hits you in the face pretty hard. People don't understand. Like, the funny thing is Coach Wickline, who was my O-line coach at the end of the season, my senior year, said, "Hey, are you going to try and play in the NFL?" And I was projected like a 4th to 6th round pick. He was like, "Hey, are you wanting to play?" Like, yeah, I want to play. But that question, I remember that question so vividly now. It makes sense now because playing in the NFL is hard. Right. It's really hard. Sure. And being a rookie in the NFL is really hard. And I got there, man. And those vets, like that team, that 2007 Patriot team, they went 19-1. I think they had 8 draft picks that year and only 3 of them made the team. That team, that's one of the best teams ever. That team had Randy Moss, Wes Welker, Tom Brady. Roger. I mean, one of the best defenses ever. I mean, bro, you can go down the line on what that team had. And I remember getting there in my first 2 weeks, like, holy crap, this is gonna be hard. I was not ready, bro. I was not ready. It wasn't ready. Yeah, that was definitely me. And it's just such a difference, man. It's so different from college. It's literally like grown men with mortgages and kids and all this.
Right. Yeah.
And in college, you call your coach Wickline, Coach Gundy. In the NFL, you don't call your coach. You call them by their first name. You know what I mean? You call them George or Bill, whatever. You know what I mean? It was just it was so different from what I was used to in college. And so I learned a lot that rookie year. It was like a growing up moment. Like you have to grow up fast if you want to stick around.
Roger. So, okay, whenever you made the transition from being a Patriot to the Lions, how did that kind of come to fruition?
So I got cut after the last preseason game that year by the Patriots. And then 3 weeks later, I got picked up by the Indianapolis Colts. So I actually spent 2 years with the Indianapolis Colts.
Right.
And then I got cut from there. Was on the practice squad with the Cleveland Browns for like 3 months in 2009. And then the last month of the year, the Detroit Lions picked me up off the practice squad with 4 weeks left to go in the season. And then I just stuck on for 6 years in Detroit. So that was like a do or die moment because after 3 years, man, like, the average career is 3 years. Brother. So I was like, this is it. I got to make this team. And they tried to replace me every year in Detroit, bro. They try to replace me every year. My birthday is April 26th, and it usually falls on the draft. You know what I mean? And they drafted a tackle, like, bro, like out of the 6 years I was there, they probably drafted an offensive tackle on my birthday like 3 times. You know what I mean? So they tried, and that's probably the thing I'm proudest of the most out of my football career is fighting off a team trying to replace you and being good enough to being like, well, we can't get rid of Hilliard.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And then again,
those 53 guys, and then again. So that's my proudest moment or moments, having to sit there on your birthday and watch a team that you're on, try to draft to your replacement and then sticking on. So,
yeah. Okay, so your Lions career. I mean, yeah, bro, you got to pass pro for Matt Stafford is the greatest Lions quarterback ever. Is he not? Like,
yeah,
I don't think that's
yeah,
much of a debate.
yeah, easy.
And then you obviously got to link up with Brendan Pettigrew. I mean, that had to be actually pretty cool, being lined up literally right next to him. Did y'all have some fun camaraderie in the locker room?
Yeah, we did. We always talk about the games and what happened Saturday night, Sunday morning. P. Grew's a pretty quiet dude, so I mean, we had a cool relationship. We hung out sometimes, but just having somebody that was there,
Right.
that I played with in college, it was cool.
That's awesome, man. So let's talk a little bit about, you play a long time in the NFL, and then 2014 was when they had Megatron and obviously Pettigrew and everybody, and they made the playoff push, correct? Where they
Yeah,
lost
we
to
made the
Dallas.
playoffs. What was it? 2011, my third year there, we had made the playoffs. We had made the playoffs, and gosh,
I know I'm
it was
bringing you
20. It
back.
was 2014. Yeah, it was. So out of the 6 years I was there, I think we made the playoffs twice. The first time we lost to the Saints. My last year there, we did lose to Dallas. We had a 14-point lead, and we lost that game.
Y'all should have won that game by.
Yeah, I think that was a controversial pass interference on Pettigrew, right? that they threw the flag on and then picked it up. So yeah, I remember that one for sure.
Damn, that's cool. So, and then after, was it 2015? You broke your foot like game 3 of the season, if I recall correctly.
No, so that season,
IR?
that same season that we lost to the Cowboys I broke my foot on Monday Night Football and I actually finished the game. And then woke up that next morning. I was like, this is not right. I couldn't even walk. I could barely walk. And then they put me on IR. So I broke my foot on Monday Night Football against the Giants, was out the rest of the year on IR.
And then your transition out of the NFL. I know that you've talked about before about, going from being an NFL guy. You had a little bit of time there where you were just kind of trying to find your way, but you did do. You were a fitness trainer to some degree, if I recall correctly. How did that decision come into play? Because going from NFL to anything cannot be easy. So walk us through that path after retirement.
After retirement, I was really just trying to find my way, and Victor the Great, who was at Oklahoma State too. He lived in the Tulsa area, so we just kind of teamed up and did it for 2 years.
Okay.
It was a cool experience. I learned a lot about fitness. I actually got down to like 245 around that time. Like I had lost a lot of weight.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, and then I put it all back on during COVID. But no, that was just nothing can prepare you for when you stop doing something that you've done your whole life. I've been playing ball since 9th grade in high school. So you're talking about 4 years of high school, 4 years of college, 8 years NFL. That's 16 years of doing one thing. You know what I mean? And then once you get out of it, you kind of a lost soul almost, right? And some guys do a better job than others preparing themselves for transitioning out. I didn't do a good job of preparing myself to transition out. And so it took me a while to kind of find my niche and what I wanted to do. So, and right now I coach Metro Christian here in Tulsa. And I just love coaching a line, man. I love coaching linemen. So, that's where I'm at right now. I've accepted my faith as a football coach. Doesn't pay well as a high school football coach, but I love it. I love being in the locker room. I love just hanging out with the guys. I'm a kid at heart. And so, I finally landed on that, and it's been good ever since.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So how often do you get to take a peek over to Stillwater and catch a lot of the games?
Oh
Pretty
man,
pretty
I
regular?
had season tickets for like 3 years. Um, I got rid of them. I got rid of them right before COVID, so I hadn't had
Okay,
season tickets in 2 years.
gotcha.
But we went down there for the Iowa State game this year, hung out.
Nice.
When the Eskimo Joes, I try to get back to Stillwater as much as possible. I love that place, man. So
That's
I
awesome.
go back a lot. I'm only an hour away, so
Right.
yeah.
So, been a married man for a while with a couple of kids. Your kids go to Metro Christian, I'm assuming,
No,
or
they
they
go to
will be.
Owasso public schools.
Okay,
I like free school. Owasso
tracking.
Owasso has
Yeah, yeah.
Owasso has a really good school system here. They do a really good job. And it's free. So
Right,
they get to go to school for free and they get good education. Yeah.
man. That's awesome.
Not
So what?
poo-pooing, not throwing shade at any, Christian schools or anything where you have to pay
No, yeah, I
tuition.
got you. So what do you think? In your personal opinion, do you get a opportunity to dive into some of the recruiting stuff, or do you just kind of take it at face value? I guess my question is, do you feel more confident right now about the situation with our O-line than, I don't know, previously? Because the only guy we've lost so far is Eli Russ. And Eli Russ is a good rotational piece, but he's never been a guy. So when you factor in the guys that we brought in and the freshmen, I feel fairly confident about our O-line moving forward. I do think that we could use a couple more pieces. But you mentioned Dickey. So I want to kind of get around to Dickey because Dickey is a hot topic, right? He's a legend in Manhattan, the Bill Snyder days. It doesn't seem to be working all that well in Stillwater. And to me, it almost feels like it's because we're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. You're asking a guy who did like 10% pass pro his entire career in Manhattan,
Yeah.
right? And now you're asking him to do 65% pass pro. I'm sure that's difficult for Dickey. But do you kind of see that sometimes the game does evolve around coaches and it's part of the gig? Or do you think that he's got a plenty of life left in him and we just had a bad stretch here?
Uh, Correct me if I'm wrong. Was he not the coach last year when we went 12-1?
He
Was he the
was.
O-line coach then?
Yes,
I
sir.
didn't hear too many complaints about him last year. I really didn't. So
Tracking.
I think I think the bad year. I think a lot of coaches out there are catching flack. Um, Bro, I stay out of recruiting. We never have
Roger.
great
Yeah, yeah.
recruiting classes at Oklahoma State. We're always in like the 30s or 40s,
Correct.
but we always somehow seem to make it work.
Yeah.
That's been our MO forever. We're not going to have a top 30 recruiting class. That's just not who we are. That's not how we operate. And for all of that, we always seem to, be around 9, 8, 10 wins.
Yeah.
And so, I don't get wrapped up in recruiting. I don't get wrapped up in what we're bringing in the portal because you
Gotcha.
really don't know what you got until you get them on the field and see them
Yeah,
play.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So I really don't tap into recruiting at all. Get the guys you're going to get them on the field, coach them up, and let's see what we got. So I would love to have a top 10 recruiting class. I would love to have a top 15, top 20. This is not what we do. And it's going to get harder with this NIL stuff, man, in the transfer portal. It's only going to get harder.
I agree, man. I agree. I think Wickline, he frustrates me a little bit, but again, I think part of it is, again, I don't know that when he came to Stillwater, he anticipated doing the multitude of different things that he's doing at the current moment. But yeah, man, I like the guys we brought in. And you know this at any level. So the guy we brought in from Texas State, if he gave up 7 sacks and 1,365 snaps.
It's pretty good.
That's hard to do against a scout team.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we're going to be fine. Caleb Etienne clearly has the size that you can't coach. He has the ability. He cut down 60 flipping pounds, so clearly work ethic is not an issue.
He's
And then we got
badass.
Preston Wilson coming back. We got Cole Birmingham coming back. We got Mikulski coming back. We got some freshmen coming in. Yeah, if we can shore up the O-line, that's something I was talking about with some people in the space last night. People want to have the debate about Garrett Rangel or Gunnar Gundy or Zane Flores or whoever. But to me, it's if we can shore up the offensive line and run the football, that sorts everything out, right? We were so limited this year offensively because teams didn't respect the run. They didn't have to respect the run. So you got one of two things. You either got a full blitz or you got 8 men drop back in coverage. It's not a great recipe. So is it fair to say that if we can fix the O-line, that's it, just the O-line, that we have at least 3 or 4 more dubs?
This year?
Yes.
Past year? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I think if the O-line play would have been better, I think we would have had at least 3 more wins. But like I said, man, we were just really beat up. We were really beat up. You know what I mean? And I think, we had TCU down 30-16, and we couldn't close the game out because we couldn't run the ball. Those are the type of things I think people are frustrated with right now. A season that could have been had we been able to have been, a better run football team. And Gundy said, I watched all of his post-game press conferences. Right. He was frustrated that we couldn't run the ball efficiently. You know what I mean? You could tell. So I 100% agree. I think if we have a better run game, I think we win 3 or 4 more games, but it is what it is.
Well, and the crazy part, it's just like, as a fan, it's so frustrating because you clearly see how talented Ollie Gordon is, right? It's just, it's very, very, very evident. Jaden Nixon has a lot of those Kendall Hunter, Dontrell Savage type of abilities. So and then even like I said, Dominic Richardson, right? He's headed off to Baylor. Good luck to you, sir. But we have talent in the backfield. That's the frustrating part. It's like you see the talent that we have, and then you factor in that we rush for 2.8 yards a game.
That's not good. Yeah, that's not good.
Bro.
That's not good. Yeah, it was frustrating.
From 05. I know y'all didn't run for 2.8 yards a game in 05.
Yeah, that's the frustrating part. The beautiful thing about a run game is boring, but it travels. It's like your bread and butter. If you have a run game, you're gonna always rely on that and come back to it. And just being honest, if Spencer wasn't scrambling and picking up yards, we weren't real efficient in the run game, man. And I'm amazed that we beat some of the teams we beat without being able to run a ball, like beating Texas, coming back and winning that game, being up on TCU 30-16 with no run game. To some of the performances we had early on in the year, beating Baylor up there and down there in Waco with no run game, all of that. Look, we did a lot, being hamstrung, not being able to run the ball. Because the last thing you want to do on offense is be one-dimensional, right?
Roger.
So I don't know how you fix it. I really don't. I don't think it's Dickey's fault. I don't think we all need to pile on and blame Dickey. I just think that we just need to get better linemen and do better. Just do better. Do better than – bro, my thing is just 2 years ago, that's what we did. That's how we got to the Fiesta Bowl and beat Notre Dame. We ran the ball. We were, if I'm not mistaken, we were number 1 in the conference in rushing. We had Jalen Warren. We lined up and we just ran it and ran it and ran it. So you can't tell me that it's not possible because I just watched us go 12-1 doing it.
Right.
Yeah. So we have the capability. It's there. I don't know what the hell happened this year, but 2 years ago we were great at it. This year we sucked at it. So
I think again that's a testament to depth, right? Okay, so when you were playing, we were literally 1 or 2 big injuries away from it costing us games. It's just a fact. This year, it took 10, 12, 15 injuries, before you started seeing a big difference. And, and I know you can attest to this. I think one of the biggest misconceptions that fans have is that whenever you have players that come up, whether they be freshmen or sophomores, and they fill in a hole, if they're that good, that the talent shouldn't matter. But where people forget is you lose the ability on your scout team and stuff like that to have really, really, really good guys giving you a good showing. And I think that's indicative of Kansas State, right? Kansas State, we tried to change practice, and we went to a lot of shell and thud stuff.
Yeah.
And it didn't work out, right? No big deal. Yeah. And kudos to Gundy for admitting I tried something new in 18 years and it didn't work. But yeah, they didn't have the scout team to get them prepared. And it's hard to prepare for Will Howard, who that was only his second game, I believe, of the season.
Yeah. And
so you can't prepare for a kid who nobody in Manhattan wanted on campus when you don't have a scout team at all. And so if nothing else, this season, again, getting kicked in the teeth and 7 wins, it's just luckily, see, again, the evolution. Isn't it cool to be a fan now at Oklahoma State University and say, yeah, 7 wins is not acceptable. We cannot have that happen.
Yeah.
Like, that's got to feel kind of cool.
It's man, look, we've had one of the best records. I forget the stat, but like in the last 10 years, we've won like the 5th or 6th most games in college football. We've been a steady force, right? We've been one of the best Big 12 teams in the last 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
We've won a lot of football games, bro. A lot of football games. And so this is a far cry from when I first got here. I remember when I first got here, they were glad they went to the Houston Bowl, right? That was a big deal. That was like their first bowl game in like 6 years or something. So, yeah, I'm proud. I'm proud of who we are. I'm proud of our brand. People know who Oklahoma State is now. You know what I mean? They respect us as a football program. And it's just really cool to see. And it's awesome when you win 7 games, it's not good enough.
Yeah.
Dude, it is called expectations. Yeah.
When the first year my dad got us season tickets was 97. And we won, when we got to 7 wins that year, you'd have thought that we'd have won the daggone Super Bowl in 1997. You just look, legitimately speaking as a fan, 7-8 wins was like, that was big. That was really, really big. And now here we are X amount of years later. And it's like, 7 wins cannot, that has to be the absolute basement. But when you have this many freshmen, again, yes, this season we got punched in the mouth a bit. We didn't have the guys on scout team to get us prepared effectively, but those dudes played a lot of football. And now those guys are now going to be integral parts of the 2 deep for this next season. So if we can take a few things away, right, I think one being the talent is unquestionable. But, and that's what makes you pull your hair out about Ollie Gordon and Jaden Nixon and even Dominic Richardson and DeAndre Jackson to some degree. It's like you see the talent. You cannot coach the way that DeAndre Jackson and Ollie Gordon run the ball. Right? You cannot coach wanting to bust people's face masks open 24/7. Can't coach that. Yeah. Right? But it's such a small difference between like you said, being a 10-win squad and being a 7-win squad. And if anything, this defense and the amount of youth that played should have people excited for next season. Like there's no doubt when you have that many freshmen start, right? That is playing time that you cannot coach. You can't coach extra playing time.
Bro, experience is the best teacher. So they got that experience. I really hope that we become a running football team again. Yes. I really hope. I pray for that because when you have a strong defense, you saw the formula 2 years ago when we went 12-1. That's the formula: strong defense, being able to run the ball, shorten the game, eat the clock up, keep the other offense off the field. Those are things that we really got to lean into. And we got to develop a tough-minded run football team. Yeah, it's got to be that.
Well, and other than the youth that we have coming back, so the recruiting class, I know again that's not necessarily you dive in too far, but I do. And
Well, you're kind of paid to do it, right?
a little bit. But
Yeah.
the one commonality, and again, this is the tie-in. It really looks like this recruiting class is a significant shift. Yes, we ended up number 39 or whatever overall, which is fine.
See, I didn't even know that. I called it earlier, 30s or 40s.
Yep. It's the mentality shift, right? So all of the O-linemen we got, I think all of the high school O-linemen, I don't think any of them necessarily will be able to slide in immediately, but they have what you can't coach, and that is tenacity. Right? Like Caleb Etienne has the body. He can be a physically imposing dude who has, the ability to potentially play at the next level, but you can't teach that tenacity. And what this recruiting class all the way across the board at every single position, we're going to have more 15-yard penalties just because of the way these dudes play the game. And it's like, I'll take it because that's how y'all played the game. Just like you said, the Texas Tech game. When they stomped on your logo, you guys are like, okay, bet. Hold my beer and watch this shit. Y'all done messed up now, right? It's the same concept. And we have been recruiting speed and talent and speed and talent and speed and talent for a long time. This class is the first class I've ever seen since your guys' classes of 03, 04, 05, 07, where the number one requirement is toughness. That's it. It's like we're bringing guys in that have this nasty, mean streak attitude, and we've decided, okay, we can work on the technique, we can work on the fundamentals, but we can't teach people to want to shove your face into the ground over and over and over. Dude, we've got a linebacker, Ike Essenwoon, who played wide receiver, and he's got multiple pancakes on the season at wide receiver. It's like, you ain't got no business picking a dude up and throwing him 3 yards out of bounds. But he does just because he can. And that's the fun part to me. Again, when you look at y'all's classes, it didn't always necessarily have all the greatest talent per se in the world. But you had guys that wanted to bring their lunch pail and they wanted to go to war every Saturday. And it looks to me like this is that recruiting class. So, yeah, man, when you factor that in with all of the youth, if we can shore up the O-line, this is an 11, 12-win ball club. It just is.
I hope so. I think, look, all football is blocking and tackling. I mean, that's all it is. You the window dressing, passing the ball, any kind of play that you call, it always comes back to say, can you block?
And here, I thought it was us wide receivers that controlled everything.
No, well, you just talked about a wide receiver blocking, right? That's where your big runs come from, when your receivers are down the field blocking people, right? Football is blocking and tackling. That's all it is. We need to do a better job of blocking, all right, and a better job of tackling. It's that simple. It's that simple,
Well, like you sound like a daggone coach there. That's that coach speak. That's that locker room talk.
That's all football is. Somebody's going to have the ball. You're going to have 10 dudes blocking for that guy or 9 guys blocking for that dude. And you're going to have 11 dudes on the other side trying to tackle him. That's all football is.
Man, it makes it sound so simplistic when you break it down like that. I'm going to go tell my son that. So simple.
But you're right. We need the dogs that want to block.
Yes.
We need the dogs that want to block and want to do it play after play after play after play.
Yep. Yeah, I feel the mean streak coming back, and for better or worse, right? I feel like this is a concerted effort by Gundy. And I'm not just the high school recruiting class, the transfer market guys, right? I think I made this analogy last night. The guys that we brought in, like for example, Justin Wright, linebacker, replaced Mason Cobb. Does that have the same lateral side-to-side ability as Mason Cobb? Probably not. Is he as fast as Mason Cobb? Probably not. But what he will do is he will fill a gap and chew your ever-loving kneecaps off. That's a good Lions throwback, huh? That's a Dan Campbell throwback.
Dan Campbell, yeah.
That's the type of dudes that we brought in. So it looks to me that there is clearly a shift in mentality. We're going away from the spread athlete and we're getting more bigger dudes. You've heard 1,000 times. Gundy said 1,000 times. It's hard to get 300-pounders to Stillwater. He said that his whole career. Well, if you look at the roster now, coming into this next season, we have several 300-pounders on both sides of the line. So the thing that we always had to coach around was, size, big bodies. We don't have that problem anymore. You look up and down the roster, we have a bunch of 6'7", 6'8", 6'6" dudes now that are 295, 305, 310 pounds. So the evolution in recruiting for Gundy, I think, it has been nice. Like you said, the number 30 class, number 29 class, number 39 class, that just, I don't know. When you have Rob Glass, that's not that big of a deal, right?
Yeah.
It would be great to have top 20 classes all the time. I get that, but in Glass we trust. There's a reason why he's the only dude in the country making $1 million to teach people how to lift weights.
That dude is the GOAT, man.
Yes.
Dude is the GOAT. I love me some Rob Glass.
I love it, brother. All right, man. Well, let the fine people out there know. I see you got a fancy little microphone set up. Maybe you could teach me a thing or two. But tell the people, what do you got going out here other than rocking and rolling on the high school gridiron for Tulsa Metro?
So I just started a podcast called House Divided Podcast. I do it with my buddy Brandon Hill, who's a big time Sooner fan.
Okay.
But he's a really, really good friend of mine. So we just said, hey man, let's just start a podcast. And we talk OSU and OU football. We do NFL weekly recaps and preview shows. We're going to start doing basketball when football season is over because we're both big basketball fans. I'm a huge Celtics fan. He's a huge Lakers fan. So it just works out perfect. Like, we were really good friends, but we sports wise, we're different on everything. It makes for a good show.
Bro,
so I got that going on.
Please tell me you got a size 3X tall Marcus Smart jersey. Please tell me you do.
No, man. Look, just so you know, I'm not capping, bro. I got a Jason Tatum jersey. So I'm a big time Jason Tatum fan. I love my Celtics. I've been a Celtics fan, bro, since like 1999. I'm talking back when they had Antoine Walker and Paul Pierce.
Yeah, dude. My dad was a hardcore. My dad thought Larry Bird walked on water. Okay, so yeah, dude. My dad, whenever we're showing the age, but the VHS tapes. We only had a handful of VHS tapes, but I would tell you we had a bunch of VHS tapes of Kevin McHale and Larry Bird highlights. And then the other thing that we got to slide in and out constantly was my dad was obsessed with Vince Lombardi and Bart Starr and the Green Bay Packers. So I got history lessons in the Boston Celtics and the Green Bay Packers every single day without even necessarily wanting all of it. So I got you. I got you on the Celtics game, my guy. Well, and when you play NBA 2K, like when you go to Legends mode, there's nobody that outshoots Larry. Like if you put in like Steph Curry now, but Larry Bird,
bro,
goodness me.
Yeah.
And they've got all these series. I didn't realize how much crap he talked. It makes it fun.
Oh yeah. I watched the YouTube shorts on like he's the biggest trash talker. But when you're that good, man, you gotta have fun with it. Look, I'm gonna shoot right here. I'm gonna let you know where I'm shooting. You know what I mean?
So, he would tell people, if you go right there, I'm gonna shoot a jumper. If you try to go around the screen, I'm gonna bust a 3 in your face. And he would do precisely that.
Cold-blooded, bro. Cold-blooded. Cold-blooded.
That's awesome, brother. Well, Corey, I greatly, greatly appreciate your time on here, sir. You know what? Watching you with the Lions and with Brandon Pettigrew, like that was fun. So for me, I never, still to this day, never been a big NFL guy. I just never have. I only follow dudes. Like I was a 49ers fan because they drafted R.W. McQuarters, right? For a long time. And then I was a Lions fan because, obviously you had Tatum Bell, you had Brandon Pettigrew, they had Chris Lacey there for quite some time. So it's just like, I follow O State guys. Like, okay, for this last few years, me and my son were both Steelers fans. Well, now James Washington's gone, and they're giving Mason Rudolph the shaft. They're screwing that dude. Oh, goodness gracious. So I don't give 13 hoots about the Steelers no more, which sucks because I still like watching Jalen Warren. It's a rough life, man. But that was growing up, dude. You could count on one hand how many O State dudes were going to start on a Sunday. Right? That's why I was a Niners fan, because I wanted to watch R.W. McQuarters, but outside of R.W. McQuarters, you could watch a little bit of Keith Burns, a little bit of Kevin Williams, but there wasn't a lot of dudes, right? Tatum Bell here and there. It's cool now, right? When you look and see like the last time I looked during the season, we had like 22 or 23 Oklahoma State dudes on NFL rosters right now. When I was a kid, it was like 2 or 3, not 22 or 3.
Yeah, cool. We done a great job ever since like ever since like that 2009 season with like Zach Robinson and Dez Bryant and all those dudes. We've been putting a lot of dudes in the league.
Beat Georgia.
Heck yeah. Beat Georgia. Yeah, man. That was a fun game. I remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and we had some get right too, because they beat us the year before pretty decent.
It's always fun to have an SEC team come in your house and you give them the business,
Yeah. Oh, goodness me. I wanted to beat the stupid Big Ten so bad the other day. So bad.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was a frustrating game to watch.
I'm so like, obviously I do O State stuff, but I'm a hardcore Big 12 guy, right?
Yeah, me too.
And I'm so tired of hearing about the SEC and the Big Ten. I'm so flipping tired of it. So tired of it.
Yeah.
Like, I get
Big
it.
Ten. Excuse me. Big Ten wasn't even that good this year, I don't think. They had 3 teams, but you let the media tell it. The Big Ten is the best thing since sliced bread, and I just don't get it.
Yeah. Well, it's marketing, brother. And this is precisely why, I like doing this type thing. Oklahoma State University, we didn't market ourselves forever. Like, you know what I mean? The SEC and the Big Ten have been sunshine pumping their conferences for years and years and years. Meanwhile, Bob Bowlesby, he didn't know what Big 12 marketing was if it slapped him across the jaw.
Yeah. God bless him.
So, I mean, we took the same approach because, realistically speaking, from sea to shining sea, there are still, to this day, people who have no clue that Barry Sanders or Dez Bryant or Thurman Thomas ever played at Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, yeah. It's crazy.
It blows my mind. So we're finally doing statues. We're finally doing the Ring of Honor stuff. But we have a lot of ground to make up, right? And I say this in the media game. Growing up in the state of Oklahoma, you had to, every day, you had to hear 2.5 hours of OU before you got 15 minutes of O State news. So growing up as a fan in the state, it was so frustrating because you couldn't get OSU news. And now it's better, but we've got a long, long way to go. So I feel like I can only do my part. And part of that is bringing guys like yourself and Tatum Bell and Rashawn Woods and Bobby Reid on the show, not only to talk about, the difference between now and then, but just to reconnect people, because like you talk about Charlie Johnson, NFL, Billy Badgema, NFL, Donovan Woods, NFL. You obviously had some pretty good spurts in the NFL. Zach Robinson lasted forever as a backup in the NFL. Brandon Pettigrew had a phenomenal career with the Detroit Lions. Yeah. And then obviously you got your Barrys and your Thurmans and your Hartley Dykes and your Dez Bryants, and I get all that, but it blows my mind when we moved to Colorado. When I got the job in my office, so my back shelf was just lined with nothing but Oklahoma State cards. And I can't tell you how many people would come into my office and be like, Denver Broncos fans, be like, oh, I didn't know Tatum Bell went to Oklahoma State. Yes, he did, right? And so did Keith Burns, who's a Bronco great, who's still with the Broncos to this day, if I recall correctly. And it's just, man, I feel like we need to do our part. And for me, part of that is reconnecting the fan base with the old school guys. So we remember, how talented somebody like even a Vernon Morency was, or Victor DeGreat, or Nathan Peterson. Because, Nathan Peterson didn't get a lot of I don't think he played in the league at all. But, his fumble recovery in 2006
against Nebraska,
back for a touchdown. Yeah. Stuff like that, like for nostalgic purposes, that's how you build a fan base. You don't build a fan base by keeping everybody in the dark. People need to know more about Oklahoma State because we do have some GOATs, right? We do have some legends of the game that nobody talked. Terry Miller, Bob Fenimore. People don't realize that Bob Fenimore, yes, it's great that we got the 1945 national title. It's great. I love it, okay? But the biggest injustice was Bob Fenimore running for 1,641 yards and getting third freaking place in Heisman voting.
Heisman, yeah, ridiculous.
And it's just, I love O State, but I love the history more. The same with basketball. John Starks and Desmond Mason, these are guys that people had no idea went to Oklahoma State.
Yep.
And it blows my mind that if you didn't go to O State, you don't know a lot about O State, right? Marcus Smart. He's one of the first rounds of people that I think do actually recognize him with O State. But again, that's how new it is that people are starting to recognize how many guys Oklahoma State's put in the league. And we haven't even talked about baseball, but that could be an hour-long conversation with guys we've put in the major leagues in that sport. But, yeah, man, people just don't know enough about O State.
Yeah, it's like we're in our own little country over here. I don't know. It's
Right.
like we live like in another universe, and you find out somebody went to Oklahoma State, you be like, really? Like, yeah, that's just how it is, man.
What, Tyron Johnson? People want to have the Tyreek Hill debate all the time. I love Tyreek Hill was on a podcast earlier this year, and he talked about his time at Oklahoma State. And thank goodness he came out and said that he claims being a Cowboy. Tyreek Hill doesn't run around talking about his time at Western Alabama.
So he claims us.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. Well, and then so he's with Emmanuel Ogbah now. It's another dude people don't realize is a flipping Cowboy.
Oh boy, yep.
We've got so many dudes and we've got so little people talking about them. It frustrates me. So again, man, I want to greatly, greatly, greatly appreciative for you jumping on and helping us kind of remember 2005 because it's different, right? 2005 in this season they felt comparable. But I'm trying to explain to people with this much depth and talent, this could have looked like 05. If we were in the same spot, right? If we didn't have a two deep that could compete with anybody in the country, this would have been a nightmare of a season.
It could have been.
So, yeah, man, we've come a long way. And it's honestly because of people like you. Because without the Bob Simmons era going into the Les Miles era and the Les Miles era going into the Mike Gundy era, we would have none of this. Absolutely none of it.
I appreciate that, man. We're all just doing our part, I bleed orange. I love Oklahoma State athletics. I love the university. And we'll be back next year, bro. I think next year is going to be a better year. I think so.
Wow. I think with who we have coming in at the transfer market, this was the best transfer market Gundy's ever put together by a country mile. This transfer class is very, very, very impressive. Every dude we brought in, well, let's say realistically, Justin Wright, he will probably start immediately. Justin Goodlow probably going to start immediately. Ladarius Webb Jr. most likely is going to start immediately. I know Cam Smith's going to give him a pretty good run for his money. But Dalton Cooper, he's going to start probably immediately at left tackle, which frees up Caleb Etienne and gives us a little bit more depth. If nothing else, it pushes him. But yeah, man, the transfer. So On 3 Sports has us rated as the number 1 transfer class in America.
Really?
Yeah. And 247 had us like number 5. Rivals had us at like number 7. So our transfer class is a top 5 class anywhere you look.
There you go. Better days are coming, brother. Better days are coming. Yeah, I like it. I didn't even know that. Bet.
I got you, man. I got you. Yeah, if you ever need anything, brother, man, I would be glad to lend a hand at any point in time, and anything I could do with what you got going.
No doubt, man. I appreciate the time, man. We got to do this again soon, bro.
Oh, for sure.
Look, you're tapped in. You're way more tapped in than I am, so I'm learning some things from you, brother.
Holler at me, brother, man. I sit in front of a computer and I watch film all day, every day.
What are you on the all 22? You just watching just?
Oh yeah, I watched. Dude, you could ask me. I swear to you, I'm not trying to sound cocky, but you could ask me a question about any one of our recruits, and I can tell you precisely where they went, what size they are, who they got recruited by, and what position they're going to slide in Oklahoma State.
Damn. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Well, again, like I said, we've got 70 years of negative media to make up for. So, sometimes I just feel like you got to overload people with facts. And the more facts that are out there, the more people will shut up, because O State fans, it's getting a lot better. But there's a lot of Oklahoma State fans that still get their O State news from their OU buddy who heard it on the flipping Sports Animal. Still.
Yeah.
And that's what just it blows my mind, man. It blows my mind.
We need more Cody Stovall's, bro. That's what we need.
We're working on it. We're getting there. And again, man, yeah, I'm very well aware that without y'all's classes, right, that transition from Miles to Gundy, that time frame, to me, that's the most pivotal time frame in our easily recent history. I think you could argue that the mid to late 80s was pretty cool time, right, to be a Cowboy, but It's not like this. It's not like this because of the depth. Again, if you had 12 starters go down in 05, do y'all win a game?
Heck no. No, bro. We almost lost to Montana State the first game out the gate. We won 15-10 against Montana State. I was like, holy.
Goodness me.
Yeah, that was our first game. We won 15-10 against Montana State. So if we'd have had 12 starters go down, bro, we'd have been 1-11. Dog. It would have been bad. Straight up,
man. Well, hey, I can't thank you enough, brother. I really can't thank you enough.
No, man, thank you for having me, bro. I appreciate it.
And okay, so what's a fun little tidbit I can throw at Bobby Reid? Has he got a nickname or a fun fact about him? Because I tell you this, I don't want to talk about the I'm a man, I'm 40 thing, because I'm sure he's had that question 733,000 times.
Explain to him why Jay-Z's not the best rapper. Come up with 5 rappers that are better than Jay-Z and watch the response you get out of him.
That's too easy, buddy. That is too easy. All right, brother.
He is a Jay-Z fanatic. So if you hit him with that, you'll get a good response out of him.
Or maybe I'll just start off the whole thing, be like, "Hey, man, welcome to the show. It sucks that Beyonce is not even the best Destiny's Child lady, but we'll carry on from there." I love it.
All right, man.
Too easy, brother. Well, thank you for your time, sir. And let the fine people out there know what the name of your podcast again is, and how can
House Divided Podcast. House Divided Podcast. You can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. We post all our shows on YouTube right now, so just go to YouTube, search House Divided Podcast, and you'll find us, man.
And what's your Twitter handle, Bubba?
My Twitter handle is House Divided Podcast. Okay. On Twitter. So my Twitter, I don't have a Twitter handle. I don't do Twitter.
Roger,
I don't have a personal Twitter, so I don't.
Bro,
I'm very old school, bro.
I didn't have a Twitter or an Instagram until I started this stuff. So like 2 months ago. Yeah,
there you go.
I'm with you, bro. I have an Instagram. It like chimes and dings at me, but I don't know how to use it. Don't know what to do on it. I don't mess with it a whole lot. Twitter, I kind of have to. You know what I mean?
Right.
But
Yeah, because of your job. You gotta tap in, right?
I do. Even though sometimes Twitter wants to make me pull my flipping hair out.
That's why I don't do it.
All right, brother, man. Well, hey, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, the man from Louisiana who made his way to Stillwater, who made his way to the Detroit Lions and back into our hearts, Corey Hilliard. Say hello to the people, and the people say goodbye to the man himself, Corey Hilliard. Thank you very much for joining us, brother. I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Well, y'all, that's basically all we've got for this one. Again, we're just going to continue to take these trips down memory lane because the tie-ins between what was started years ago to where we are now, it's massive. There's a massive differentiation. Should we be accepting of a 7-win season? No, we shouldn't. But we do need to remember that there were times when 7 wins was almost a pipe dream. And because of the foundation that was set right after the really Bob Simmons era, I enjoyed some of the Bob Simmons era, but coming in the Les Miles era, Mike Gundy era, it's where we are now. And there's not very many legends that you can, stack up that equal this amount of success anywhere. So thank you to everybody who's been jumping on. We're doing well. We're doing big things. We're doing good things, and we're just going to keep this thing rocking and rolling and moving because being an Oklahoma State fan, it's different. It's different than a lot of other fan bases, and I think we all know that. So we need to live in it. We need to live in being different, and we need to talk about how difference can equal big things. And 2023 should be a big season. All righty, y'all. As always, I love you all. God bless. Go Pokes. Until next time. Later, y'all.